My name is Larry Lander. I'm a principal and director of programming and planning at PDR, based in Houston, Texas. The topic for my group is space utilization and metrics, and my team is representing the Houston chapter. We started with the thesis of employee choice. The generation of workers that we exist in today will be forever changed by this experience. Choice is part of our new normal, and certainly until the discovery of a vaccine. A more resilient workplace model is needed in response to this and any future pandemics. Additionally, remote work has now gained acceptance, and it's really difficult to imagine going back. Technology-enabled and effective working from home tools have evolved along with new work habits. Think of this as a sudden experiment with far-reaching impact. Employees can and will work remotely. Businesses will ask, why do we have an office? Yet, we also know that a workplace is critical, and this notion of the workplace as a human-centered, impactful business tool has never been more important. The premise is important because going forward, it speaks to how we will redefine the structure of organizations as well as the type and volume of required space. These dynamics will drive the new normal, what we will develop beyond the short-term crisis-driven workplace workarounds that we find ourselves in now. Question number one is why go to the office? In the new normal, we believe there are 5 drivers for the necessity of office space. Number one, the need for robust collaboration, small groups, special tools, whiteboards, monitors, a place to do brainstorming, access to the kind of tools that are simply unavailable on your kitchen table. There's also more effective solo work. Again, specialized tools and equipment that you may not have in your home. Number 3 is mentoring, coaching, and informal collaboration. Career development, teaching, training that require close physical proximity to enhance learning and collaboration. And then certainly there are work from home limitations, your size of your workstation at home or your desk, or maybe you don't have a desk, unavoidable distractions, children's, pets, shared spaces. The workplace can provide something that your home cannot. And then finally, company culture. The purpose, mission, and values of your organization are driven by person-to-person interaction available only in the office. People will return to work in 3 broad timelines. They're driven by time and our readiness to move from one point to another. There's the pre-vaccine immediate actions. We're in that right now. There's the pre-vaccine interim actions. Companies are beginning to move into that. And there's post-vaccine long-term actions. And this is what we're interested in relative to size and spaces and utilization going forward. There will be 2 major strategy shifts. The first one is the work from home impact on the facility. The workplace will reflect this new work from home situation, will include employees' homes with better technology and ergonomics, and we may develop remote or neighborhood hubs more central to employees' homes. Social distancing will have a long-term impact. The return to work phase and subsequent steps onto the way to the new normal will institutionalize the 6-foot rule. Meeting room capacities will be reduced to support more effective small groups. Larger groups can be virtual. Larger circulation paths and one-way directions will allow 6-foot passage. And circulation factors may be increased, but the quality level will also be perceived to be better. Desks, spaces, tables, primary work points, those distances will be increased to maintain a 6-foot buffer and better define the area requirements of even the smallest spaces. Spaces can be engineered as open or closed and will have flexible systems, making the workplace itself flexible and resilient. And finally, screens or partitions between desks will allow the perception that people can be 6 feet or even closer. But the impact needs to create a compelling, human-centered workspace. That remains our primary challenge. Common spaces within both the tenant envelope as well as landlord-provided building common spaces and amenities, will have an impact on space usage. The need for new space types or larger spaces to better accommodate distancing requirements will be a driver of overall space requirements. Consider which spaces can be better accommodated by the building if appropriate. For instance, larger building lobbies and reception areas to better screen visitors and employees. Food and drink service as a building amenity, not a tenant-provided service. And use of common work areas in building lobbies or on shared amenity floors are co-working models. A number of factors may affect space utilization and the need to be considered in overall planning. While they do not necessarily have a direct impact on space metrics, they can affect quantities and arrangements of spaces and how spaces are used and by whom. Those include continuing protocols and policies driven by HR and safety requirements, reconsidering building materials, cleaning protocols, increased attention to building systems and landlord controls, and building certifications that promote health and wellness. The second area of strategy that will be affected is in real estate itself. The development of an effective real estate strategy will be different for every company, of course, and it's based on the size and type of business, where the company is in the business and real estate cycle, and whether they own or lease their space. The considerations include business conditions, leasing versus owning considerations, the impact on the lease cycle, and, of course, budgets. Two broad categories of space types have been affected by our response to the pandemic, and particular attention to new paradigms is required. Individual seat requirements, solo seats, whether they're assigned or shared, remain an important driver of overall space utilization. The smallest spaces need to be analyzed to keep the 6-foot distancing requirement in mind. Individual seats smaller than 6 feet in any one dimension may require vertical separation, for instance. There will be 4 critical figures to drive the number and size of individual solo seats: head count, seat count, if those are different, and seat sharing ratio, which compares those two, and finally, minimum area per individual seat to accommodate 6-foot rules. How big can the smallest seat be? Collaborative seat requirements, meeting and conference seats, team areas, workrooms, other group settings require careful analysis. Consider the impact on the need for large groups at all. They may now be meeting virtually instead of face-to-face. Areas for small groups will be affected by distancing requirements and integration of technology and other productivity tools, and will remain one of the most important elements in an office where many individuals may work remotely some of the time. Technology-rich small group settings will be one of the reasons employees come to the office. Consider the factors that will drive the number and size of group settings. Identify meeting spaces and sizes. Emphasize small groups and their accommodation. Understand the minimum need for large group settings, and understand how settings can maintain the impact of the 6-foot rules. Historical benchmarks for space usage will be reevaluated and updated or simply discarded. How we measure efficiency will change. New paradigms for measuring and evaluating workplace effectiveness will become the norm. Square feet per seat may increase, but square feet per employee may decrease. Dollars per seat may increase, but dollars per employee may decrease. We'll look for enhanced flexibility of the workspace and workspaces that are ultimately defined by human value and our human-centric approach. The world has changed. Fundamentals of space metrics and utilization remain similar to our pre-pandemic approach. How much, how many, how big will be answered using new assumptions, however, and changed paradigms. The impact of new models and the requirement of a workplace to be a compelling place for humans will continue to be the most important factor in how we look at how much and what kind of space we require.